Say hello.
Hello.
Thank you. And Shannon's the executive minister for this region.
Welcome to the Prairie to Pine region meeting. May God bless our time together as a Christian community.
As you know, this is our first regional meeting online, and we're figuring it out as we go along. So please bear with us. Use the chat if you have questions for Julie. You can send a message to her privately if you want to find her name in the list. Just click on it and you can send her a message if you need help. We're asking you to be patient and forgiving as we go along. Now Shannon's going to introduce the process for the evening.
Yes, everyone. It's good to have you all here. We've been preparing for this for a while, but as always with these things, time speeds up the closer we get to the time. So we're just trying to make sure we have everything ready for this week and next week. And just as when we have our face-to-face meetings in the last few years, we've divided up our decision-making into listen, discern, decide. And so tonight we're going to listen, discern, and as part of that have discussion in breakout groups. And then next week when we meet, we will formally constitute our time as a meeting, and then we will have our deciding time, and that's when we will be doing votes, and we'll need to make sure that people who are visitors and so on are properly named so that we know who's allowed to vote and those kinds of things. It's not as important tonight, but everyone's allowed to speak, and we want everyone to have the opportunity to participate in the discussions. So we will have some time for you to ask questions for clarification, to do some discussion, and then we would welcome feedback on the proposals tonight if there's time, if you want to make changes to those that are coming forward, or there's the Equity and Diversity Committee will provide you an opportunity to communicate with them to suggest changes to their proposals. And of course, I'll share a little bit more about the remit process a little bit later on in our agenda. And again, we're glad you're here, and we hope that technology isn't a barrier for us. Since in Winnipeg we can only have 10 people in a room, it would be really hard to have an annual meeting. So we're doing the best we can, and we're glad that you have joined us in whatever way you're able tonight. I'll pass it over to the Equity and Diversity Committee.
Okay. I invite the Equity and Diversity Committee, co-chaired by Jamie Miller and Ken Delay, to lead us in worship.
Thank you. As the committee felt that our work is worship, we have included the work of the court within the entirety of this service. Where we would normally have a time of giving and receiving, usually communion and offering, you will find the motions and time for discussion. There will be short breakout table group discussions as part of the business of this meeting. We begin with the acknowledgement of our territory. We acknowledge with gratitude the traditional territories of our Indigenous and Métis neighbors and their hospitality. We offer our respect and commitment to living into right relationship with all our relations. And part of that is to acknowledge hurt. Today is Orange Shirt Day, a day to recognize the history of residential schools. Let us join together in a prayer for Orange Shirt Day.
Today, we wear orange to remember and honor all the Indigenous children who went to residential schools. Today, we wear orange and we pray for the residential school and intergenerational survivors who are still struggling. Today, we wear orange and we are thankful for those who speak the truth and who work to shine a light on injustice. Today, we wear orange in the name of compassion and the spirit of truth and reconciliation. Help us, God, to remember and act on this every day. Amen.
We light this rainbow candle and other candles in our homes to remind us that Christ is present in the diversity that we are and that we bring to this gathering.
Join in our gathering prayer. Creator of all, we celebrate you. We celebrate your creation. This means we celebrate ourselves as part of your beautiful, complicated, and awesome tapestry of life. What does the next row of weaving look like? We know, God, that we who have gathered here are part of the family, but we also know that the family is much bigger still. There are people who don't understand. There are people we disagree with. There are people we don't like. There are people who don't like us. Challenge us, God, to expand our vision of family until we see all of creation as one big family. We gather today to discuss and dream and plan for dreams fulfillment. Be with us as we sing and speak and weave and wonder. Let our work be your work. Amen. We will join our spirits as we sing our opening hymn, More Voices number 8, On This Path.
Julie, we're not hearing any sound.
Yeah, I'm not sure why.
You have to click on, when you do the share screen, down at the lower left side, it said something about computer sound.
Yeah, that's not appearing here on the Google Slides. So if folks mind for just a sec, is Dawn or anyone else, do you have any advice about that?
I checked the slides and they look okay. So unless that one share option, when you share the screen, that's the only thing that I can think of.
You have to share the computer sound.
Yeah, that option's not coming up
Yeah.
For me anywhere that I can see. Unless that's somewhere in the controls and maybe if I'll keep my mic open. I don't know why that would make a difference, but yeah.
Are
Julie,
you
it's sorry, Julie, it's Kara Medland here. Are you the one showing the slides?
Yes.
Okay, you need to go to your mic your mute button and check to make sure that you're using the right audio output. If you make sure that it's coming through on the right audio output.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to tell.
So if you go, so you make sure that it's on your your computer. It should actually, you want to go same as system, I believe.
Okay, that's what it
So-
seems to be. Why don't I just, first of all, thanks for everyone's patience here. Always a few tech glitches in this. Let me just see if I can, no, I can't advance the slides backwards, it seems.
If you click on your mute button, the very bottom thing is audio settings. And there's a place there, I think, join audio by computer. Oh, sorry. No, it's gone now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, just a sec. I'm just going to, this was tested earlier, but there wasn't a way to do it in the full meeting like this. I'm just going to start this and let's see. You can tell me quickly if this is, it's going to mute my mic. So
Julie,
did anyone hear anything there?
no, Julie, this is Kristen Woodberg from Oak Bank United Church. I believe if you go up to the top where there's that green thing where it should give you the screen sharing thing, there's options up there and, in your own thing. And there should be an option there to share the computer sound.
It just says same as system, which is what's selected. That's, I think, what Karen was just saying, right?
No, up in the top, on the very top of your screen, there should be some options that pop down because you're sharing your screen.
There isn't, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the way it works on, that's the way it's worked on my computer. So when I've done the same thing and not clicked it when I've, the other thing you could do then is stop sharing your screen and go back in and then click on that option when you go to share the screen. It usually comes up in the bottom left-hand corner when you, right at the moment that you share screen.
I wonder if what would be better if the worship committee doesn't mind here, if we just have to skip some of these hymns at this point and then do some troubleshooting when folks are in breakout groups, because we'll have some time to deal with it then. Is that okay?
Let's do that.
Okay. Sorry about that. All right. Just trying to, I'm using a Google slide viewer, which I'm not entirely familiar with. So I'm just trying to figure out how to get back into it now. There we go. Okay. All right, so over to the scripture reading.
I was just going to say I could play it on the piano. You'd hear the piano.
That could work.
We do that for the next one, maybe.
Sure. A reading of Psalm 139, titled For the Director of Music of David, a psalm in the New Revised Standard Version. You have searched me, Lord, and you know me. You know when I sit down and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all my ways. Before a word is on my tongue, you, Lord, know it completely. You hem me in behind and before, and you lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too lofty for me to attain.
Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there your hand will guide me. Your right hand will hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness will hide me, and the light become night around me, even the darkness will not be dark to you. The night will shine like the day, for darkness is as light to you.
For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place, when I was woven together in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. How precious to me are your thoughts, O God. How vast is the sum of them. Were I to count them, they will outnumber the grains of sand. When I awake, I am still with you.
If only you, God, would slay the wicked away from me, you who are bloodthirsty. They speak of you with evil intent. Your adversaries misuse your name. Do I not hate those who hate you, Lord, and abhor those who are in rebellion against you? I have nothing but hatred for them. I count them my enemies. Search me, God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there is any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. Sacred text, shared for knowledge, shared with love. Thanks be to God.
In our psalm, we heard David's message to God. For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. And then my frame was not hidden from you when I was made in that secret place, when I was woven together in the depths of the earth. With purpose and on purpose, we were created with intricate detail, with the intent of beauty. Stitch by stitch, cell by cell. And I love the image of being knit together. Each of us created simple yet complex, and the same way, but each of us unique. And I think of handmade items, some stitches pulled tighter than others, a stitch dropped here or added there, a flaw in the yarn or in the dye, making no two pieces the same, each one a piece of art. When my aunt was trying to teach me to knit, I had to use the same yarn until it was knit into something useful. Needless to say, I pulled many a stitch. Some of them were so tight, even after the mess was pulled out, you could still see the indents of where the stitches used to be. When I was finished, I had something usable, but you could still see the history of the yarn, the places that the stitches didn't sit quite right, stitches that I wasn't proud of, that I wish I could erase. Yet now, when I think about it, those spots were the spots of learning, proof of the journey. In case anyone wants to know, I am not a knitter, and that one large coaster or very small placemat was the one and only thing I've ever knit. It wasn't pretty, and there were many tears and words of frustration. But in the end, I had something that I was proud of. And as we continue to use the yarn of the church that we were given, some of it with history, some of it with stitches that we aren't proud of, some that we've tried to make better, and even though we've done that, they still sit not quite right. Better than the past, but not perfect, not where we would want them to be. We move forward knowing that there is fresh yarn There are new stitches to be made, lives to be woven together in pretty little rows, or not so pretty rows, but connected nonetheless in the hope and grace that finds us when we rest in Jesus.
We're just going to try to reshare the screen. I've got colleagues helping me to figure out what to do here. So
Now, I was supposed to do a little reflection in there too.
Oh, sorry about that, Liz.
Okay. That's okay. I was sort of waiting to see my face appear in the little corner. Then I thought maybe I had to do something to make my face appear in the little corner.
No, it magically does it for you. Let me go back to present here. Okay, you're good to go.
Okay, thanks. When I can remember sitting at a United Church camp in the dining room that also served as the program room, and we were doing an exercise where we had time to sit in silence and wait to hear what God might have to say for us. And I remember being at this gathering and thinking, why am I the way I am? And the frustrations I was feeling being in a camp setting as a female person who presents in a very masculine way, it can create stressful situations at residential settings like that. And I was there in a leadership role, and I was just feeling nervous and stressed about that. And so wondering and praying, why am I like this? And it became clear to me that it's to show how beautiful God is. And I've carried that with me, that we are indeed all fearfully and wonderfully and beautifully made. More than that, we are made diversely. We wear orange shirts today in memory. Shoot, I had her name up in front of me and then I took it down. Very brave girl who went to residential school and who had a beautiful orange shirt that her grandma gave her. And when she went to residential school, they took away her beautiful orange shirt and she never saw it again. And that orange shirt represents her, the beauty and strength of her as a person and of her culture that the school was trying to erase. When we are in these early days as a region, trying to figure out who we are and who we want to be, we want to be a group that shows the beauty of God, which means we all have to be able to bring our full selves forward in all our complicated and interconnected identities. It's easier on the surface. It flows faster on the surface if everyone's the same. So if we all try to be normal, whatever that is, well, normal's a setting on the dryer. That's what normal is. And what we want to be as a region is bigger and better and more beautiful than that, and calls forth the glory of God. So we bring our full selves. Because if we try to be less our full selves and more some easily accepted standard, we won't show the full beauty of God. So may we all bring our full selves to this meeting and this time we share. Thanks be to God. Amen.
Thank you both very much. I'm just going to stop sharing for just a sec so we can try to deal with that setting and appreciate the amazing music that Knox Kenora recorded for this session. Now, if everyone could please pray, that would be appreciated. Let's try this again. The proof of our reflection is carrying out the work we have been asked to do, faith in action. As we move into the business, may God open our hearts and minds to the vision of our future church. There's my great committee. It's been a challenging year for all of us. I'm not going to read the names, you can see it. I thank them all for their work. Now, last year, because of most of our founding courts were already affirming, Affirm United S'affirmier Ensemble recognized our histories and offered us the option of a simplified process to be declared an affirming ministry. By following this process, we could be declared an affirming ministry as early as this year. We chose to accept this simplified process and assign the task to the Equity and Diversity Committee. Our primary work was to recommend to the Regional Council any revisions to the visioning statement and to create an ongoing affirming action plan. Other work that we've done has been given to the regional executive. This includes an action plan, terms of reference for the committee, and checking that affirming culture is represented in the responsibilities of council. Tonight, we will clarify and discuss the vision statement, and we'll vote on it next week. We began our work on the vision statement by looking at the comments you all wrote up last year to the then approved draft statement. The vision statement was redrafted several times by a subcommittee who reported on progress at each meeting. We also shared the near final draft with the regional executive and some members of Keewatin Presbytery for their input. Remember, this motion will require a minimum of 75% of the regional council members' approval. I will read to you the supposed vision statement. Prairie to Pine, a regional council of the United Church of Canada, is called to offer an open door, an open heart, an open mind, and an open hand. An open door is evidence of the belief that all people are created in God's image and all are unconditionally loved by the Creator. An open heart follows Jesus's teachings to love one another. We extend that love to all, inclusive of their ability
age, ethnicity, gender, gender identity, race, sexual orientation, social economic status, or any other human division. An open mind calls us to continue working for justice, dignity, and the full inclusion of everyone in all aspects of the church, community, and society. An open hand is a symbol of our work towards reconciliation as Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples, and our call to live into the intercultural global community. We recognize the unique and diverse communities of faith and recognize we are at varying levels of development and capacities. Sorry, I'll read that line again. We recognize the unique and diverse communities of faith and recognize we are at varying levels of development and capacities. You will now be broken into small groups. I don't know how they do it, but they do it. On your screen, you'll be invited to join a group. You must accept that invitation. We are asking that you appoint a recorder to keep track of what you've shared, and that will be gathered later in the meeting. We have only one question for you. Is there something in this vision that will prevent you from voting in favor of this motion? That's your question. We're going to give you 15 minutes, I believe, for the discussion. And I turn it over to the magic people who know how to put you into committees.
I'm going to ask for your prayers again. Can someone just remind folks how long they will be in for, just so?
I said about 15 minutes.
15 minutes, okay, thank you. Okay, just hang on a second. As I had mentioned earlier, and as Ken just mentioned, there will be an invitation that will come up on your screen. For the folks on the phone, I believe you will be, not sure, I think you might be in with some of the rest of us who are not assigned. And we're aiming to have 4 to 5 participants per room. I will see if we can put the vision statement in the chat so that you can discuss that more easily. And a reminder for those of you who have your docket in front of you that it was included in what was sent out by Sherry earlier this week or last week. Okay, so now putting you into rooms, hang on. Seems to not want to do it. There, Ken, you have too much trust in me. I'm not sure why it's just refusing to open it. Just ask tech. Let's just a sec here. Let's try it again. Okay. I'm just going to ask the tech folks, the gremlins in the back end here. I'm hitting open all rooms and it's not doing it. And we are under the minimum that the maximum, sorry, that we're allowed. If anyone wants to unmute. Talking to my staff colleagues here.
Would it help, Julie, if we stopped recording? Does that matter?
I don't know, it's a good question.
No, I'm on other ones where recording happens and breakout happens. It shouldn't be a problem.
It's absolutely bizarre. I'm hitting open all rooms. You're all assigned to the rooms in front of me here and it's just not opening. Any suggestions for process here, folks, while we work with this? Try making the rooms bigger just to see if that.
If we can't go into small groups, can we just open it then for people to make comments?
Yeah, we could do that for the moment for sure while we work on this. We might be able to go in eventually, and I think we were inviting discussion afterwards anyway.
Right.
If we do that, I'd invite people to click the raise hand and then be acknowledged by somebody who moderates that. Otherwise, we will have a craziness.
I'm not actually maxed. If at some point you simply vanish into rooms, my apologies in advance, because we're just trying to recreate them in the background, and we'll be able to resume the chat conversation once they behave themselves. Just a sec. No, still not doing it.
So maybe, Ken, are you okay to moderate in the meantime, or do you want Lori and Coinbone to do that?
I'm prepared to answer questions, but I don't, how do you see who's
if you click on your participants at the bottom there, then you should be able to see along the side when people raise their hand. And everyone would need to do that with their participant list, is click participant, and then you can see you have a raise hand option, yes, no, go slower, go faster options there as part of your reactions that are accessible to you. So if you use that, if you raise your hand, there's one. Margaret Christensen has her hand up. So then if she wants to, if you want to acknowledge her, Ken.
I don't see it, but I'll acknowledge it, but I don't see it.
Okay, well, I'll tell you who has their hand up then, and then you can, and then if they have questions. So Margaret Christensen.
If you're asking only one question, is there anything in this that would prevent me from voting yes? My answer is no. I think the committee's done a great job.
Thank you.
John O'Sorin has a question.
I too commend the committee for having done the work of the whole service and the whole vision. But I still want to put my point in that I raised the last time, Ken, we had this discussion at the executive. Right in the opening, we talk about open door, open heart, open mind, open hands. And I think in the United Church, we could readily add, and an open table to be fed by, you know, etc. I think that would strengthen it. It would link us to the sacraments a little better as well. So I would love to see that in there.
Okay, thank you. We're going to take all the comments and work on them with the committee and report next week. So, and I remember you making a recommendation, and then I forgot.
That's true.
That never happens. Okay, so if you did raise your hand, can you then put your hand down, and then I can know who has, I'll try to remember who's spoken. So Don Shaw was next, and then Alice Bloomfield. Oh, Alice went away. So Don Shaw.
Thanks, Shannon. Actually, one of the reasons I put my hand up was to say what you just said, to remind people to take your hand down when they're done.
Okay.
The other thing, just to respond to John, does that mean you couldn't vote for it without that in there? Just for clarification.
No, Don. I think it's A-okay the way it is, as far as I'm concerned. But I would love to see it in there.
Thank you.
Okay, Marg West. You need to unmute yourself. I'm not a host, so I can't unmute you.
Okay, there I am. I agree with John. I would vote for it the way it is, but I would love to see that phrase in there, open table.
Okay, thanks, Alice Bloomfield.
I just want to say that I like John's addition, but I do appreciate the work that the committee has done. And I think it's an excellent vision statement, and I'm quite happy to vote in favor.
Hello.
Hello, Gerda. Yep, you can go ahead.
I can speak. Thank you very much. I too appreciate the work of the committee. They've done an excellent job, in my opinion. I agree with the addition from John. I think it's quite appropriate that we include that, and that does link us for the sacrament part as an open table to all. Thank you.
Okay, so I think we've switched hosts and we think we're able to do breakout groups. So I think we'll do that and give it a chance for you to say hi to one another and see if there's any other issues around this. I'm not sure how much time for it, but you'll get a warning before we pull you back out of the groups. So, all right, Jamie, I think you can go ahead. Maybe. No, it's yelling at Jamie now too. Zoom, we love you so. Is it
bad? That's a really, is that bad?
Well, it's consistent anyway. All right, well, let's carry on. So I see John Osorin still has his hand up. Alice, I think you've spoken. Is it Nade Shock? Shock Nade? Would you like to speak? You have to unmute yourself. I can't do it for you.
Sorry for that. Thank you for the work the Commission has done. I appreciate it. Coming from South Africa, you've gone far ahead as what we have been trying to do in South Africa concerning this issue as well. My only question is, if we say an open table, then what about an open baptismal font?
Sorry, an open
baptismal font.
For the baptism. It must be open as well. You cannot exclude the one sacrament from the other. Just a theological question there. Thank you.
All right. Put on our list to talk about. The committee will.
Yep. So our process, just to remind people, is we'll take track of all of the suggestions and then they'll rework it and hopefully bring something back that everybody can agree on at the next Wednesday. So Gay Bose.
My question is just, I also really like the way, I love the open comments, versions you've used, the adjectives. I'm just wondering, is this vision statement just for the passing of becoming an affirming region, or is this the whole picture of the work that the region is doing? And I ask that just because of the justice work that is touched in the open mind, but it feels like there could be quite a lot more that we are about. That, I mean, a phrase or two might just help it. So that makes sense.
Thank you. And I would say the specific is, it's actually both, but the specific is we need a vision statement, affirming vision statement, to become an affirming region.
Right.
Our hope is that once that becomes our vision, that influences all the work of the region. One of the tasks that the committee looked at was to go over the description of regional council responsibilities that we already have. And we made some suggestions where it should be could be reworded to be more justice oriented, to be more open to minorities and stuff. So we're already trying to use it, even though it's not official yet.
Okay, thanks. Lorraine Mackenzie Shepherd. And can I get a mute all, and then Lorraine can unmute herself? I'm hearing somebody brush their teeth. So.
There, I think I've unmuted myself. So Lorraine Mackenzie Shepherd from Westworth United Church. Historically, it has been the table that has been divisive. We have had in some denominations fenced tables as opposed to open tables. And they are limited to membership. They're limited to particular standards of morality. There are various reasons that have blocked some people from the table. We have not had that same division of the table around the font that I'm aware of. It has been purely by profession of faith that people are baptized, and often parents or guardians on behalf of their children. The table, however, has been quite the contrary in that. And so I would support us simply staying with an open table. That speaks very strongly to current practices that are still blocking people by identity. And I think that's what we're getting at here. So the more succinct, the more powerful our statement might be. Thank you.
Okay, that's all the hands that I'm seeing. Oh, Craig Miller.
Thanks for the statement. I just had a question regarding the use of the word race in the list of extending love and inclusivity. And I wondered if you had any conversation about possibly not including the word race since we're and just leaving in ethnicity, since there's a lot of conversation now about race as an artificial construct and the problematic nature of race and it's being tied to white supremacy. So I'm just wondering if there was any conversation about that.
There was conversation. I can't remember all of it and why we decided to keep it in. We can revisit it again with the committee. You believe race would cover under ethnicity, right?
I'm just wondering if that's an option in that list.
Okay, anything is option.
Yeah, I would vote for the statement, but wonder if the spirit may be moving us in that direction.
So, Craig, are you suggesting we leave the word race out of that piece?
Correct.
Okay. So
I think that's worth a discussion.
yeah, we'll take it back to the committee, as Ken said.
Thank you.
I see Don Shaw.
Yeah, if you'll give me permission to speak a second time. Just listening to some of these comments, I'm taking it that there's a number of people interested in adding open table and possibly other things. The original question was whether we could, if there's things holding us back from voting on it the way it's worded. So what I'm now wondering from these people is, if we were to add those things that we were talking about in there, is there something in what we're adding that would cause people to say, oh, I can no longer vote for it? Because we need to know that too, rather than be surprised next week.
Okay, Jamie Miller.
I just had a follow-up question to Gay's comment on that we touch on justice. So I was just wondering if she had anything specific that she was looking for us to add. I'm just taking notes and just want to make sure that I have all of the information to take back to the committee. So.
Okay, why don't we get Gay to maybe type that into the chat and you can see it in the chat. Heather Sandylands. You have to unmute yourself.
Thank you. Like others, I would like to thank the committee for doing the work they did. I'd also like to thank Don Shaw for raising the question, because my concern or my question would be around including the open table. It's my understanding that at this time, although we may in practice have an open table, it's my understanding that by the bylaws, we do not have an open table. And so I'm wondering if we were to include that, if that gets us into remit world.
That's a good question. And it might be worth getting in challenging into the manual. I don't know what else to say about that, but we can think about that when we.
So if I can just make a follow-up comment to that, Ken, my concern would be if it's going to put us into remit world, not that I ever have a problem doing that, but I think for the purposes of what we're trying to do in terms of identifying ourselves as an affirming region, I would not be able to vote in favor of that until I have confirmation that it would be within our purview to do that.
We're making a vision statement for our regional council. It's not a binding manual piece, and there's nothing in the manual that speaks about not having an open table that I'm aware of in my readings of it. And so we speak of the table for everyone at communion all the time. So my understanding is, and also this is an affirming process, which we use in the United Church, but it is not a formal general council process. So it's not something that's bound by the manual.
Thank you. Anyone else there?
I don't see any other hands up other than people who had already spoken, and I'm assuming they just didn't take their hands down. So so do you want to share where people can submit more feedback if they'd like?
Yeah, I was just going to say, do you want us then to move on? And Julie, do you find yourself available to put on the next slide? That will have the email address.
Yep. So Jamie, do you mind transferring the host control back to me when you have a second? Thank you to Jamie for also trying to get these rooms working.
And I want to thank everyone for your comments. And when you get that email address, you can also send those comments to us sooner rather than later, so we have time to read them and digest them. So maybe right after the meeting or tomorrow, send us your comments and we'll go through them.
I just put the email address in chat, and if someone could just read that out loud, I'm just going to message. Oh, good, I'm the host now. Thank you very much, Jamie.
So if people could email the Equity and Diversity Committee to affirm, AFFIRM, P2P, Prairie to Pine, @gmail.com.
And the 2 is the number 2.
The number 2, yes, sorry.
And it's on the slide now, it's on your screen for people to write it down if you need it. And then, according to my note, this part is finished and we're moving into remit 1.
Hang on, can I write it down, please? Excuse me.
Back, sorry, yep.
Yeah, just can I write the email down first? Hang on. Yeah, you can go ahead now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think this is
This is me, it's Shannon again. Sorry, I had to find I had too many windows open here. So this is our first remit since our new structure was put into place. It was authorized by the 43rd General Council, and it is what we consider a Category 1 remit, which means it is for the wording or editorial changes to the basis of union, including A, replacing existing words or phrases with updated terms, or under D, changing the gender language used for human beings in the Articles of Faith and the basis of union. So category 1 remits only go out to regional councils. The regional councils must reply that they are either in favor or not in favor of the remit. They may not include conditions or comments with their reply. If 2/3 of all the regional councils reply that they have voted in favor of the remit, then the general council may declare that the remit has been approved. So this remit is to amend the basis of union, Article 10, on ministry personnel. So the 43rd General Council in 2019 approved a change to Article 1, the basis of union, to be inclusive of persons of all gender identities, and authorize this remit to category 1 remit to regional councils to test of the will of the church with respect to amend this as follows. So the current wording is 10.0, the order of ministry shall be open to both men and women. And the proposed change would be that 10 would be the order of ministry shall be open to all persons of all gender identities. And so we wanted to just give an opportunity for some education around this. And so unless people have procedural questions about the remit, then we'll move into the educational time. This will be a vote next week where we vote in favor or not in favor. It will be a yes/no vote. And there is no, it's a simple majority. It's not a requirement for 2/3 of the vote. It's 2/3 of the regional councils need to vote in favor of it. But for our purposes, it's a simple majority of the regional council.
Would it help if I put the wording in chat, Shannon? Would that?
Sure, people want to see that. It's also in the workbook. And I'll pass it over to Liz.
Just while Liz is getting ready, there's a question. Please define the word remit for this process, and I will just grab the.
So remit is a process within the United Church of Canada where we vote on, we seek the wisdom of the church. They're called remits. Somebody else might know. A remit is a vote by regional councils or by regional councils and communities of faith, the pastoral charge, to test the will of the court. And so we did all the remits to decide to change our court structure from presbyteries and congregations or communities of faith and conferences to communities of faith, regional councils and general council. And so this is another similar process to test the will of the whole church, only because this remit is a wording change and not a substantive change to the basis of union that affects denominational identity. It doesn't go to the congregations, it merely goes to the regional councils. So it's essentially a, somebody who has voting words in their head right now, but it's a testing the will of the court.
Okay, am I good to go? I started talking before. I did start talking before and then I realized I was muted. So you missed those gems of wisdom.
There we go. I just spotlighted you, Liz. There.
Excellent. Oh, now I can see myself too. That's great. My purpose for addressing you now is to talk about why this would matter to make this kind of change. And a big part of it to me seems to have to do with changing of the meaning of words and phrases, that if I say the same thing today that my mother said 40 years ago, I'm not saying the same thing at all. And so when the church said in 1936 that both men and women could be ordained, it was saying it was saying that gender was no barrier to ministry, but there was no concept of a variety of gender identities at that time. But now when we use that same language, is in something like that formally, there are some churches that are starting to use language like that to say only men who are born men and women who are born women. That's the only way it is, the only way that people exist. And we know that there's much more variety in life than that. So I wanted to talk about the gender unicorn. And I think that Julie was going to be able to put that up for me. There we go. And this is a image to help understand the different things that we're talking about when we talk about things like gender and what gender identity means and doesn't mean. So you see our picture of our little unicorn there. The gender identity is in our heads. It's our sense of ourselves as being male or female or other. And whether that's a sense we have strongly or weakly felt within us, we have this between our ears of who we see ourselves as. And that may or may not be reflected in the way, I just wave my hand in front of my face, you all know what I'm talking about. The what we see with the green dots around the outside is our gender expression. So how do we present ourselves to the world? How do we dress? Certain indicators from the way we style our hair to whether or not we carry a purse are all clues that the people around us used to figure out what gender we are. I learned that one about carrying a purse, by the way. I found I was less likely to be harassed in a women's washroom if I carried a purse. So that's something I've learned. I've also found having a small child with me also makes it okay for me to be in the women's washroom. Just a tip for any of you out there. Another category that is at play in all of this is what sex was assigned to us at birth, which is usually a matter of a glance by a doctor, sometimes requires more testing, but at birth, until and under almost all circumstances, a sex will be assigned at birth. And even if it's not clear, even when a child is intersex, the common practice continues to be to assign a gender to that child. The recommendation of the intersex society is to choose a label that you'll hold loosely until you have more time to see how everything presents itself, but don't do any surgeries you don't have to do. That if you don't need surgeries for all the elimination systems to function, don't do extra surgeries, but our society is so strongly gendered that it's just what the intersex society recommends is still to assign a gender. So that's what what's your physical body, what you see when you look at you when you're underneath your bathing suit, and what you see when they look at your genes. They've got the little DNA strand there, and the way your physical body develops, whether your voice drops in adolescence, whether you grow a lot of facial hair, how your body changes, all those things are connected to your physical sex. And then all of that is separate from who you are physically or emotionally attracted to. So are you physically attracted to men or to women or to other genders, and are you attracted a small amount or a large amount? So somebody who is asexual might not really have any physical attraction to any gender. And some people may be attracted only to men, some only to women, some to people who are in between, and some to all or none of the above. And the same thing with emotional attraction. So the gender unicorn just gives us a bit of a breakdown of the different things that there are. So what the vote we're having now is not about people of all sexual orientations. That's already been decided. It's about affirming what the church has been doing in practice for about 10 years. But to articulate clearly that people of all gender identities are welcome to go through the process to be considered to be called into ministry. And the gender identity is something that is between our ears. And the gender identities, many people see themselves as male or female. Most people identify as either male or female, but there are also people who identify as non-binary. So some people who identify as female were assigned male at birth, but their gender identity is female. They see themselves as female. And some people were assigned female at birth and see themselves as male, but there are some people who are male or female or who are intersex, but who see themselves as being neither gender or both genders, and I often use the label non-binary. And there are a whole lot of different identities under the umbrella of non-binary. But for the purposes of our consideration as a church at this time is recognizing that all of these different identities, none of them are a bar to seeking to go into ministry. So in order to actually hear from a non-binary person, we have a video that Julie's going to put up now.
Micah, I am 15 and I'm here to answer some questions about being non-binary. So for me, being non-binary is really just like figuring out what identity fit me best. I realized that I wasn't really a guy or a girl. I didn't fit the gender binary, and being this way just feels better to me. I use gender-neutral pronouns, they and them, and I use gender-neutral language to describe myself. So the most commonly used gender-neutral pronouns are they and them. They are gender-neutral, which means they don't really have either male or female labels attached to them. They and them have actually been used as singular pronouns since around the 14th century. You probably use it as a singular pronoun all the time without recognizing it. Like if there's someone across the parking lot, you just say like, hey, I think they double parked. There are some pretty funny alternatives like they's and gentle thems, which I quite like. But you can also just say everyone or folks or y'all. A really nice alternative actually that I heard was date mate instead of boyfriend or girlfriend. When I first came out, my brother immediately started calling me his sibling. Figuring out that I was non-binary is one of the hardest things for me, at least to put into words. I do remember just thinking that there is something wrong with me, that I am the weird kid for wanting to hang out with like only the guys or only the girls when I shouldn't be. But it's different now. It's correct in a way that is weird and new, and I can find other people who feel what I'm feeling, and I can talk to them and I can make friends. For me, finding this particular label has been pretty amazing.
So I really appreciate Micah putting that forward, and I think I'll use the last couple of minutes I have to talk about this to just raise how we can make our churches more welcoming to people who have a non-binary gender identity, and that is being aware of like they said in the video, not saying ladies and gentlemen, but saying friends, family in Christ rather than brothers and sisters in Christ, beloved in Christ rather than brothers and sisters. Choosing when we're dividing something up rather than saying, okay, well, the men say this part and the women say that part, then leaving people who are non-binary or trans people who aren't out or aren't completely out aren't left feeling awkward and not sure where they're supposed to go. And I don't know if that was a question for me to respond to or something there. Somebody tapped me on the shoulder if I'm supposed to respond to something. That we can open up our communications within our congregations and that sort of thing by making small changes to the way we talk. And that helps people to feel welcome, because we don't know the gender identities of everyone who's present, and we definitely don't know the gender identities of the children and grandchildren and nieces and nephews and their partners of the people who are part of our congregation. And so they may be learning about this on their own, and it might be good to know, hey, church is a safe place to talk about that. And so the same thing when we use our pronouns, to say, what pronouns do you want people to use for you? And learning to use they, them pronouns when that's what people want is a really big way of showing that you accept and appreciate them and are willing to try. And if somebody tells you their pronouns and you're struggling to learn to use them, a member of your family that you've always used male pronouns for, and they tell you that they want you to use female pronouns in a new name, of course you may make a mistake sometimes, and just apologize and quickly move on from that. But try to learn and get the pattern of using the new name, and it goes a long way to creating that openness that we're longing to create. And that we want to make sure everyone feels welcome. So this is how we can help to make this particular group of people feel welcome, is by learning about all of this. So that's what I wanted to say about this. And then I think we were going to break into small groups to talk about it.
So yes, thanks, Liz. Appreciate that. We are going to try again with the breakout groups. Again, your question is just, is there anything about the remit that would prevent you from voting in favor? And if you have questions, I remind you again, no, we cannot change the language of the remit. This is not our remit. This is a question that was raised by the 43rd General Council. They set the language for the remit, and our responsibility is to either vote in favor or against the remit. There's no ability to change or submit any comments on the language that was submitted. So it is what it is, basically. So Jamie is going to try to put us into breakout groups, and it will be no reflection on our ability. It's Zoom that keeps changing everything on us every time we turn around.
Yeah, I'm, see, Jamie set it up here. I'm still the host.
Oh, Julie.
I headed, it's the same response. Open all rooms is just not working tonight.
Okay.
I'm sorry. And thanks, Jamie, for the research you were doing. Wait, this all worked last night. Of course it did.
Yeah, there is a limit, and we think we're close to, we can only have 50 breakout rooms, and we're close to that, and it seems to just not like it for that, for whatever reason. It's too many people or something. So we're just gonna carry on with the open mic night. And, I invite people to, if you have comments or questions, concerns, things you want to express, then we welcome you to raise your hand, and I'll call on you, and we'll carry on the discussion. I know that having a big group discussion isn't our preference. We want to give everybody an opportunity to chat and to see one another and connect, but the Zoom gods are not in our favor tonight, and apparently it's Zoom is busy. There's lots of issues. Any questions or concerns that people want to raise about the, or name yays or nays, or yes, I love it, I'm so happy to see it, where has this been for the last 10 years, all those things. Anybody have anything they'd like to say? All right, Marg West.
I was gonna make a comment.
Sure, Lorraine, go ahead.
That one person was saying he wanted to see the word race removed, but I think it's probably best to leave it in with the word ethnicity. I can't even pronounce it too well, but to be ethnic, Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Sorry, so you're referring to the last proposal around the,
I know.
yeah, okay, that's fine. Just
I was going to make a comment earlier, but sorry. But I think it's, when I think of the word ethnic, I think of people from other countries usually that identify as ethnic. And I think the word race should be left in there. Just my own feelings. Okay.
Okay, thanks, Lorraine. Mark.
Okay, I was wondering if we can download or the gender unicorn.
Yeah, we can provide a link for that. Probably if you just Google gender unicorn, it'll come up. It's a pretty
That's what I was
common thing, but we can always see if we can put a link in the chat. And I also, I'm not sure if it went out with all the materials, but I think it did.
Oh,
so it may
okay.
already be in there.
I missed that. That is an excellent learning tool.
Okay, great. Thanks. Thanks to Liz for sharing it. Wayne Sanderson.
There we go. Just wondering about the word gender. Is it a limiting word, given what the young person was talking about in the video? Does that identify or does that limit a bit people to identify who they are?
It may, but if you vote no, that means the language of men and women stay in. So no, because we don't have an ability to change that.
Okay.
We have to decide whether we think this is better than what we have or whether what we have is what will work best. So
okay, so we can't change the wording. We can either agree or disagree.
No, we cannot.
You had it there, huh?
All right. John Asorian, your hand is up. Was that from before still? Yeah, I think so. You were sitting back relaxed. Okay.
Sorry,
anyone?
I tried to get it down, but I couldn't.
Okay. Margaret Christensen.
I don't actually have a comment, but I can see that Afaf is trying to physically raise her hand.
Yeah.
Okay. Afaf, go ahead.
Hi, I am late because the link is supposed to be sent it to me for assuming I got it late. That's why I joined the meeting late. But I have just questions to ask too, because when I enjoy and listen to you guys, what you're saying, you're talking about promises and race. I don't understand this. What is it all about? Race and then promises.
So that refers to our affirming statement about how we will be and how will we be open to, I believe the language is all people of all races. And so that was the language about whether we wanted to use the word race because we know it's a white supremacist construct. And so that was what that conversation was about regarding our affirming statement.
Oh, talking about like the promises for white people, or what that mean?
That we as a regional council would be open to people of all races and ethnicities, as well as, I forget what all the rest of the language is, but it's in the statement. And so whether we wanted to use the word race within that statement.
Oh, okay.
Thanks, Afaf.
You're welcome.
Any other comments before we are done? You guys are trying to get us done before our time runs out. That's your goal tonight. You all want to go rewatch the presidential debate again. Okay, maybe not. Heather Robbins.
Anything but.
Good evening, Shannon, and all gathered together. It's wonderful. I like it as it is, or not as it is, as the remit says, because I don't think we can be too inclusive. And I think that really includes almost everything that we need to consider at this point. I mean, 10 years down the road, we might need to make another remit. Hopefully not, but you never know.
It's happened before. Okay, great. Thanks, Heather.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'm not seeing any other hands. Oh, Jan Van Arsler. You can unmute yourself.
Okay.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I just want to say a big thank you to Liz. It was 15 or more years ago when Liz first opened my mind to the whole concept of gender ambiguity and to the things in this gender unicorn about identity and expression and sex assigned. And she has just, over the years, put herself forward to do this kind of education. And here she is still doing it. So I just want to say thank you for the work that you've done in very many communities and for the work that you're doing for our region now. Thanks, Liz.
Thank you, Jan.
Anyone else want to raise their hand? Wave frantically, and if someone else sees you waving frantically, we'll acknowledge you. I can't see everybody at once, so I do see so many orange shirts. I had to do laundry, so I had an orange shirt today. So, all right.
Are we ready to move on?
I think so. I see Alice Bloomfield has her hand raised.
I just wanted to add my congratulations to Liz for her presentation tonight around the remit. Thanks so much, Liz. I'm running into my grandchildren having gender identity situations, and it's good to hear it from somewhere else and make me more aware. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Okay. If there are no other hands, we'd like to thank you very much for participating in the discussion and for the presenters. And
sorry, do we still have the closing worship?
I wanted to just now invite the Equity and Diversity Committee to proceed with the closing worship.
The truth is that the next thing is a song. We're asked to sing "It Only Takes a Spark." Will that happen?
Give me just a sec to shuffle my windows and pull that open again.
I think we fixed that glitch.
Yeah, that was my fault. I confess it. Just give me a sec here. Okay.
Join me for the prayers of the people. Creator, we come to you with both the joys and the sorrows of our hearts. We are grateful for the gift of life and the joy that it can bring. For families and
Maybe start the prayer again. Sorry, we had background
those
noise.
who suffer from discrimination because of their gender identity, sexual orientation, their skin, their abilities, and so many others. Remind us to see all as our siblings. Your us end so much violence against the one and created. We pray
Could we start the prayers of the people again?
we
We're having trouble with.
pray for those who worry about their employment or who cannot find a job, for those who must hide who they are to find house, for those who are not safe on our streets. Communities for cause.
Just some connection problems there. Is it okay if I move to the Lord's Prayer?
Yes, do that, Julie.
God, creator in the heavens, holy is your glorious name. May your kingdom be among us, your will lived on earth the same. Give to each the food that's needed, sins forgiven as we forgive. Lead us not into temptation, from all evil your people save. Yours the kingdom, yours the power, yours the glory, now and always. May we sing this song forever, in our nights and in our days. Prayer and praise our lips are speaking, hearts together in one accord, offering now our lives, our living, you Creator God adored.
May the Christ who walks on wounded feet walk with you on the road. May the Christ who serves with wounded hands stretch out your hands to serve. May the Christ who loves with wounded heart open your hearts to love. May you see the face of Christ in everyone you meet, and may everyone you meet see the face of Christ in you. Just before we start the hymn, I'm inserting something else. I want to thank Julie and her team. I know the struggles, but you've kept us going. We've worked around it, and I'm grateful to everyone who has helped to move this worship forward. So thank you to all of you. Our closing hymn, which also ends our meeting as far as I know, is from Voices 569, You Call Us Out.
Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. And we'll continue our meeting next week on Wednesday. Join in at 6:30 to get connected and sort out names and things like that. And we're going to practice voting before the meeting starts. So please come to that.
And good night, everyone.
Good night to all, and thanks.
Good night, all.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good
night.
Good
night.
evening.
Thank you.
Bye.
night,
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
I
Bye-bye.
thoroughly enjoyed this.
Take care, everybody. Thanks.
Night.
Good night. Have a good sleep, everyone.
You too.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, and thanks loads.
Good night. I've thoroughly enjoyed this.
We have a few lingerers. Good work on getting the sound, Julie. Thanks for.
Oh, well, no, that was my mess up to begin with. But
Oh, well, at least we figured it out. It was
Liz,
nice to hear the
Jan
music.
and Liz, I'll email the committee, but
We'll be good next week for the worship next week, which is good.
yeah, it'll all be good.
It's all going to be great.
So we don't have any breakout groups next week. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, we didn't have any planned
Planned,
that I
okay.
remember. So,
Good.
and obviously we planned them for tonight and they didn't happen. So
Yeah,
it's
you did
probably
it.
a good thing. I don't
You
know
did
what they changed in the back end of Zoom that makes it like it seems like it's there. It lets us set them up, and then when we say go, it just yells at us. So we don't know why.
Well, it just doesn't do anything. It's really
Yeah, we didn't have them at general council, the all staff meeting, right? We didn't have any.
No, we didn't do breakout groups for that, but they did them last night, right? In the test.
Yeah, no, like twice. The full group, and we did a smaller test for the iPad folks at the end. But so it makes me wonder if it is an issue with the sheer number of people, but we're well below the limit. So I don't get what's happening there. I am going to be rude and remove people. Hopefully
You're going to be what?
back in next week.
She's going to remove non-staff and worship.
Yeah, staff debrief. Thanks,
Could you try
folks.
to break out?
Kathy said, "What? You're going to remove me?"
I'm up for that.
It's still early there.
This was a lot of fun.
Oh man, thank
I
you
bet.
guys. You did your best. It was as smooth as it could be.
I think Faye Wilcox wants to talk.
No, she's not there.
She's not really there. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those iPad glitches that kicks you out. It doesn't. You can kick her out, but it doesn't look like they've left. But
Well, that and the constant problem of iPads turning their own sound on all the time.
as somebody was brushing their teeth, for God's sake.
I was a little worried that somebody was doing
Did you
something
hear that
else.
person?
'cause
I was like, mute them because I can hear someone brushing their teeth. Or I'd say we're scrubbing something with a scrub brush or something. Anyway, that's what it sounded like to me. But
Well,
anyway.
it seemed like every time I went to mute people, somebody who was supposed to be talking started talking, and I thought, oh yeah, mute them mid-sentence.
Yeah. Well, and I think, the person who was doing the prayer, it was just her sound kept going out, eh?
Oh yeah,
I think
Connection.
so.
And who
Yeah,
was
too bad.
AF?
Afaf? She's a layperson from Winnipeg.
Okay, so she didn't unmute herself again after I muted her.
Yeah. That's she was on an iPad too, and that's one of the iPad glitches. They seem to sort of just decide that they're going to unmute and then, so you just have to constantly watch it.
Okay. Is that Jamie?
It is
Jamie.
Jamie. Yay!
I thought that was a picture of you sitting so still, and then you move.
I loved it when you couldn't do the breakout groups and you were like, no!
Because it leads you on. It makes you think that it's going to happen.
Yeah. I was sitting there, I just pressed the magic button. And
Yeah. I was like, I got this.
Can you do it right now? Like, could we go into breakout groups right now?
Well, I'm not a host.
Who's the host?
Who's the host?
Julie?
Somebody should try it. I am. I'm just gonna put you into recreate all rooms. There we go. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
The
Gotta
option
be the
came up.
numbers then.
It's the numbers. Huh.
Excuse me, but really. I'm just gonna close all then. Okay, so
Yeah.
how come it worked?
It must
the
be a
numbers.
capacity. It must be a capacity issue.
What did they do?
Still
Reduce
recording, right?
Well, it says there's 50 rooms, but it may be
Yeah.
a power boost issue or something. I don't know why it wouldn't do it.
I'll have to ask Steve or something. I don't know. I did all that we talked about this before, but he was pretty sure.
Because we made the rooms bigger, right? So we had fewer rooms.
We were well under Jamie. Like when we both tried, it was shouldn't have been a problem.
Hmm.
Helpful if it told you.
Yeah.
Passive
it should have
aggressive
said something.
Zoom. Yeah.
It should have said, "This is why you can't."
Exactly. Zoom is so passive aggressive.
Well, this one, no, Living Skies will be pretty close to this numbers wise too. Like even for a Prairie to Pine meeting, like we're not far off our.
Where did Sherry go?
She probably went to bed. She's tired.
She's smart enough.
Sorry, I'm kind of slow.
We didn't
You
tell her.
boot
She
her?
just. We didn't tell her to stay on.
Is she gonna see this recording? You better be careful.
Yeah.
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
Hi, Sherry.